What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Brian Ortega reacts to Tracy Cortez and Paulo Costa photo. This week, news quickly spread around the MMA community that former featherweight title challenger Brian Ortega's ex-girlfriend Tracy Cortez had been pictured alongside former middleweight title contender Paulo Costa. News of the situation continued to spread like wildfire across social media heading into the weekend, given the very public relationship that Cortez and Ortega had previously, with Costa being an incredibly active Twitter user and his notoriety as one of the most popular accounts in the MMA community. It didn't take long for T-City to take note and respond with a tweet of his own, making it sound as though Costa's gain wasn't necessarily his loss. Everyone out here talking about, "I fumbled." Y'all must not know the rules of the game. When you drop the ball on accident, that's a fumble, but when you throw it away on purpose, that's called a complete pass. Top G. Cortez then took to Twitter with a series of tweets herself, kicking things off with a tweet containing a firearm emoji, while joking that shots had been fired before, then following it up with a tweet in Spanish that translates to, "That one burned." Last but certainly not least, she posted one final message regarding her prior relationship with Ortega, accompanied by the hashtag #MoveWithLove, pointing out that she's never spoken negatively about him despite the pair going their separate ways. Let me just say that to this day, I've yet to say anything negative about you or bash your name. Don't start throwing shade now. I'm blessed. At some point during the back and forth, Ortega went on a spree, liking numerous pictures of other women on Twitter, which included selfies from other female MMA fighters. So far, no word yet on when Brian Ortega will return to the octagon. After coming up short in his UFC 266 title fight with Alexander Volkanovski back in 2021, T-City returned to the octagon last summer, almost exactly a year ago, to compete against Yair Rodriguez. Unfortunately for Ortega, a first-round injury to his shoulder as he attempted to escape a submission spelled the end of the fight. Although Giga Chikadze stated back in May that he's anticipating a summer clash with Ortega, there have since been no further updates on the situation. On the flip side of things, it was recently announced that Tracy Cortez would be returning to the octagon on September 16th in Las Vegas to take on Jasmine Jasudavicius in hopes of keeping her unbeaten UFC record intact. In the case of Paulo Costa, the former title challenger will be returning to action on July 29th for the first time since signing a new deal with the UFC earlier this year. The fight will see him compete against Ikram Aliskerov at UFC 291 in Salt Lake City, Utah. Do you think this was the last we'll see of the Brian Ortega-Tracy Cortez fallout on social media? Or will the shade keep coming? Sound off in the comment section below. Eddie Hearn drops big update on Ngannou vs Fury fight. Although it sounded as though the ship had sailed on a potential clash between Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury for the time being, boxing promoter Eddie Hearn revealed this week that he's heard some big updates regarding the potential clash. According to Hearn, the bout will be an exhibition fight, much like the Mike Tyson vs Roy Jones Jr. match that took place back in 2020 with no knockdowns.
This is what I've heard. It'll be an exhibition. Exhibition? Apparently. No knockdowns or anything. I don't know. I mean, I'm only telling you what I've heard. Who knows what's what, but I think that is apparently what is going to be the next fight.
So far, no word as to when or where the exhibition bout will take place. However, with Ngannou expected to make his return to the cage under the PFL banner in early 2024, things would likely have to move quickly in order to make sure that the Predator has time to prepare for his next MMA fight. From the sounds of things, the combat sports community isn't overly enthusiastic about the news. As many fans were quick to point out, the most exciting part of a potential fight between Ngannou and Fury was the potential for the Predator to shock the world and score a spectacular knockout. Whether or not that has any impact on negotiations going forward, only time will tell. Sean Strickland calls for title shot after win over Abus Magomedov. On Saturday night, middleweight contender Sean Strickland picked up an impressive win over Abus Magomedov in the main event of UFC Fight Night 76. In the first round, Strickland was caught with an eye poke early on that left many fearful that the ringside physician would be forced to stop the fight. Fortunately, after an injury timeout, the outspoken and oftentimes controversial Strickland was allowed to continue. Despite that, he seemed to struggle getting his rhythm and timing in the first round, leading to his friend and teammate Chris Curtis delivering a motivational speech between rounds that woke Strickland up. In the second, he quickly began to push the pace and land a high volume of strikes, sensing that Magomedov was fading as his gas tank failed him. Strickland poured it on, battering his opponent en route to a TKO win. After the fight, Strickland called for a title fight with Israel Adesanya, citing his record in the division over the past few years, while also pointing out that he's fought rising contenders in his last 2 fights, something many top-ranked fighters aren't interested in.
It needs to happen, you guys. I mean, we know Izzy's on repeat, dude. It's kind of they try to bring a boost. This is what the UFC said. Man, the middleweight division stagnant. Let's get a boost in here. He might beat Sean, and I'm like, yeah, right, motherfucker. Wait till you see what happens. So every time they've tried to bring new blood, the Frenchie I fought before, I sent him home. This guy, I sent him back. Every time they try to bring new blood in, I send him back. Give me the fucking title, I earned it.
Whether or not the 2-fight win streak and Strickland's ongoing back and forth with the last stylebender Israel Adesanya is enough to earn him a crack at the belt, only time will tell. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all of the latest news. UFC Fight Updates. First up on today's UFC Fight Updates segment, we have some news regarding flyweight Manel Kape. The streaking contender, who has rattled off 3 straight wins as of late, took to Instagram to announce that he had signed a new contract with the UFC. The news comes on the heels of Kape agreeing to fight Kai Kara-France at UFC 293 in Australia, after his scheduled UFC 290 fight with former champion Deiveson Figueiredo called off as a result of Figueiredo not being medically cleared to fight. Next up, we have an update to the UFC Vegas 78 card on August 12th, which will be headlined by Vicente Luque and Rafael Dos Anjos. According to ESPN Deportes, Gaston Bolaños is out of his scheduled bout, forcing the UFC to do some scrambling in order to figure out a solution. Now, Marcus McGee will take on JP Buys in a fight that will see McGee look to keep a 3-fight win streak alive, while Buys looks to snap a 3-fight skid. Last but certainly not least, we have an update on Jack Della Madalena's UFC 290 bout, which saw his opponent, Sean Brady, withdraw earlier in the week. After both Kevin Holland and Joaquin Buckley both offered to step in on short notice to fight on the International Fight Week card, the UFC wound up signing promotional newcomer Josiah Harrell, who is 7-8 in his career as a lightweight, to fill the spot opposite JDM. Harrell recently picked up a win at LFA 160 via TKO, while the 14-2 Madalena is fresh off a first-round submission win over Randy Brown at UFC 284 back in February. How do you see the fight between Harrell and Madalena playing out? Drop your predictions in the comment section below. And now for our breaking news story of the day. We have Dana White canceling a UFC 290 fight due to injury. It was revealed today that Sean Brady can no longer compete against Jack Della Maddalena. Brady came out on Instagram and said this: "Hey guys, as most of you know, I recently had to withdraw from my fight next weekend. I noticed a small blister on my left elbow after training on Monday and woke up with pretty bad swelling and pain. My arm continued to swell and wasn't taking well to the antibiotics. The swelling and pain got worse. The orthopedic surgeon had to drain my elbow twice. I was able to get discharged, but still having some swelling. And the doctor said there's no way I'm able to fight and I need to let this heal. I'm crushed because I put my heart and soul into this sport and this camp. I sacrificed going on a honeymoon with my wife, spent money I'll never get back. But things happen, man, and I'll be back stronger than ever." What do you think of this situation? Let us know in the comments below. Michael Bisping predicts Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko rematch. On September 16th, at the UFC's highly anticipated Mexican Independence Day card in Las Vegas, Alexa Grasso will be out to prove that her UFC 285 win over Valentina Shevchenko was no fluke. After doing what many thought to be impossible and finishing Shevchenko, the fight community remains split in regards to who they think gets the job done in the rematch. While some believe that Shevchenko will adjust and, with a more cautious approach, reclaim her flyweight title, others, like UFC Hall of Famer Michael Bisping, believe that Grasso could make it 2-0 over the bullet. During a recent video for his YouTube channel, he spoke about the situation, concluding that Grasso may very well simply be the better fighter right now.
Might sound crazy, but I think Alexa is the better fighter. That doesn't sound crazy to me at all. I thought Alexa Grasso looked really good. I think Valentina Shevchenko has been a dominant force for so long, but everyone has their time. Everyone has their end. Everyone has the beginning of the end.
With Amanda Nunes officially retired, the winner of the upcoming rematch between Grasso and Shevchenko could also see the winner put themselves in a position to make the move up in weight in pursuit of champ status. Given that Shevchenko failed to capture gold at 135 pounds while Nunes was champion, a win over Grasso could put her right back in contention to make the jump to bantamweight. How do you see things playing out when the two women square off? Drop your predictions in the comment section below.